The all-new Mercedes S-Class faces its first comparison here on Autogefühl against the Porsche Panamera Executive long wheelbase as the luxury sedan focus. So it is the most luxurious Mercedes against the most luxurious Porsche. This is very interesting because here S500 AMG-Line versus 4S Executive for the Panamera means almost the same price, same entry price, almost the same length and almost the exact same horsepower. So they have a lot in common on paper actually, but at the same time they have a lot of differences. And that's what we're going to talk about. And which one will you take home at the end of the episode or want to take home? And which one do I want to take home? And I can promise you already so far, the result will be very interesting and unexpected. Let's start here with the front, the all-new Mercedes S-Class. It has still the typical Mercedes star on top, whereas other models get rid of it. In the AMG line, you not only have this special front grille, but also these intakes here in the lower area. Well, fake intakes, we have to say, because this is closed actually, but this is a sportier AMG graphics. So the S-Class in the AMG line is the least AMG look there is in the model lineup. We have a very dark brown here today, almost looks black with a little brown shade, also a little bit old school I would say, whereas the Porsche has a more round look definitely, the typical Porsche look in the dark blue. Interesting 4-dot LED signature right there. So already from the exterior, the Porsche definitely with the sportier look, whereas the Mercedes still has this elegance in class. S-Class actually. Interesting that both vehicles are available with long and short wheelbase. The long wheelbase S-Class is standard version in the US, called V223, the internal code, 5 meters 29 the total length, or 208 inches, whereas the Panamera with the long wheelbase is at 5 meters 20 or 205 inches. So that means that this S-Class is 9 centimeters or 3 inches longer than the Panamera Executive, and the wheelbase difference 11 centimeters or 4 inches. So the S-Class then still a little bit longer. Whereas when you take the executive version of the Panamera versus the short wheelbase S-Class, the Panamera is even a little bit longer. We'll see how it plays out in the interior, but indeed this length difference shows that they are indeed comparable as for the length. 21-inch wheels here for the Porsche, a little bit bigger, and 20-inch wheels for the Mercedes, but of course you can go for different wheel sizes depending on the wheels you pick. Interesting is that definitely the Porsche has the more, let's say, fluent form in this raindrop design, strong shoulders, whereas the S-Class more goes with a classic sedan look. That's of course the biggest, most obvious difference here on the exterior. By the way, rear exit steering available for both, but here in the Mercedes it goes way further in the degree angle, so that's a little bit more sophisticated and really helps in maneuvering in narrow situations and turning circle. Impressive. In the rear, the new S-Class has these split tail lamps here and more horizontally drawn like this. And this is a new Mercedes rear here for, I mean, the E-Class, the CLA, the C-Class, they all look kind of alike now. And in the lower end here, Autogefühl fake exhaust air, it goes through, but the outer tip is pure fake. And the AMG line here has this diffuser style in the rear. And with the Panamera, you can see here once again this more round Porsche shape. The light goes all the way through like this. So to me a little bit more spectacular, and also more spectacular as for the exhaust. And these are indeed real exhaust tips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, maybe it's I don't know. Did I lose my counting capabilities? It's 4, of course. So in these versions, both vehicles just start below 120,000 euros or dollars, but you can easily pop it up with extras like 50, 60k extra or something. Yeah, that gets really hefty. Engine-wise, here with the S-Class, we have two comparable versions. 430 horsepower plus some electric mild hybrid boost here from a 3-liter inline 6-cylinder. all-wheel drive rear-wheel bias. This is the S500. Whereas with the Porsche Panamera, the 4S, and they have a 2.9-liter V6 bi-turbo, which produces 440 horsepower. And the interesting thing is, also all-wheel drive rear-wheel bias, but acceleration-wise, the Porsche is at 4.2 seconds, whereas the Mercedes is at 4.9 seconds. So almost a second difference, although kind of same specs, even the weight does not differ that much. Yeah, probably it's the Porsche dual clutch transmission, which just makes it faster. And also this engine is just revving higher. Start with the interiors, khaki here, pretty heavy and also reflecting, quite interesting. And when you open it here, you can see the door handles fold out. Then door closing sound, sounds solid. And here there has also the famous soft close option. There we go. Then interior of the S-Class in this new generation. It's beep beep because of the lights, but the auto lights gone. So this quilting structure here on the inside, and here we have a matte wood surface. That's actually quite cool. But here, this is my biggest criticism point on the inside of the doors. Before it was moving, you had these parts of the seat and then they were moving, but now there's no feedback, it's like a touch button, and everyone asks, why? It's like, I think that's just cost saving. Then the interior here in the bright style today. This looks super fancy. It's the AMG-line interior. That means you have the AMG-line steering wheel with the two spokes there. And this looks definitely sportier than the normal steering wheel. So styling-wise, this steering wheel, way to go. And also slim and thick grab, so great in sporty driving. But capacitive buttons here, and they are very often very annoying indeed. Then a comfort focus here from the S-Class, from the seating. You see this, it's like melting lava or something. How it flows through, interesting. And again with the quilting structure, the soft pillow right here. This is really cool. And you can also get a full fabric interior if you like, but you have to specifically ask for it. And they do not offer a high-grade leatherette interior, so not sustainable at all. And not in the price list. Let's get inside, and there you feel that the S-Class is definitely set on all the way on the comfort, so a super soft and comfortable seating position. That's actually pretty cool. And wow, these soft cushions here, they are just amazing. That's really cool. So this is the focus of the S-Class, and you also sit relatively upright. Interior overview, super impressive with the all-new S-Class. You have this, yard atmosphere, matte wood. It's really cool. Nice ambient lighting. You'll also see it later in the tunnel. You can change the colors and so on. Prominent air vents right there. Big head-up display, two different sizes available. Well, let's say one normal and one with augmented reality function. Then big digital instruments, 12.3 inch, and here this vertical screen in 12.8 inch. It's also standard, and it's just like really straight. It's not leaned towards the driver or something. Soon more deals to that, but everything via touch, or then these capacitive buttons. And it begins here, for example, with the driving modes. You have them to click it, but you see here, this again, one button. This, see here, how the whole thing moves. Also here, why would they do that in a car that's almost like with extras 200k? I don't get it. And then, yeah. And then you can also click it here in the touchscreen. This is done for the drive mode selection, for example. And let's move on over to the steering wheel, because I have a similar problem here. It looks really fancy, but then, for example, let's say I want to reset the trip meter. I click here and then I click again. It gives me some kind of feedback, but then you hear how the button is reacting. Click, 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 but it doesn't move. So I do the right command, I swipe left with my thumb, but it doesn't. Now it worked. Like after 7 or 8 times. Now again. Now with the second time. And this drives you nuts while driving. Why would they do that? I don't get it. They have to move back. But I had some, background talks, and they said, yes, we did get the feedback, and we will think about it, and maybe they will move back on this issue at the later stage. This will be very interesting to see. Soon more the screen details up close. Let me finish here the middle part, so you can slide this one open. A lot of high gloss piano use here, and then adaptive cup holders, but they are actually, yeah, they're actually quite large. Then inductive charging pad. This is, you know, microfiber towel you always need it because this screen gets fingerprints all over the place, definitely. Head-up display is quite large, also larger than it appears here on the camera, and also has an augmented reality function where you see these arrows. And now some more details of the multimedia system here, MBUX. Here the temperature control as touch. It's just too complicated while driving, unless you're a friend of voice control. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
I'm cold.
I'm increasing the temperature to 17.5 degrees.
Thank you, that's very kind of you. Sometimes she does respond to that, yeah. But not today. Yeah, but I think it could be made easier. Here we can also pick different colors as for that. That looks really impressive at night. Definitely really, really cool. So that's also where the S-Class is definitely leading. And also the massage function, very elaborated, that really goes through the whole seat. Now to the rear, let's take a look. This also looks pretty luxurious. Interesting is that the wheelbase of the S-Class here, in the long wheelbase or US standard version, is 11 centimeters or 4 inches longer than in the Panamera Executive, so slightly more wheelbase. And we also see how it really affects then the seating position here in the rear. Once again, with this bright styling, it looks really amazing. You have more like a lying backward position, but you can also adjust it right here, once again, at the inside of the doors. If you want it, for example, a little bit more upright, or you can also put the seating area here a little bit more forward, for example. And you see here plenty of space, even if I would be driving. So this is really an executive feeling. The split panoramic roof. And when I move to the side, and yeah, there you also see my shoes weren't particularly dirty, but this is also a problem then with the bright floor mats. They look amazing. Yeah, but it's cleaning job all over the place, definitely. And then here on the inside, you have the middle console with a lot of charging possibilities, even HDMI. And this is then, you know, the climate unit, which is like, you know, illuminated when you turn on the ignition, but then it's just one button. And this one button philosophy, I don't really get it. What is this supposed to mean? I mean, why did they do that? Then here on the right side, on the being chauffeured seat, here I just have to click one button, and then the front seat here, the co-driver seat, is going all the way to the front, and I have even more space. It takes a while, but then it also has this footrest here, for example. So let's see, yeah, then it goes even further up. This always looks super interesting, and here you can also see live on tape how long it takes. Yeah, that's some interesting piece of machinery. And I mean, there again, you know, with my feet, I'm really afraid of, you know, we can clean afterwards, but you can see here with 1.86 m or 6'1", it does exactly fit, but you know, it's close. It's definitely close. So I cannot push my feet all the way out. So the ideal would be like when you were like 180 or 6 foot or 5'9", then it's the ideal sleeping position here. And yeah, I think in this respect here, the S-Class is also leading in this, you know, luxury aspect. And well, now the trunk comparison. In the S-Class, the interior is so shining, screaming out, so many fancy features. But I always say, don't pay so much attention to things that just are for show, but make the simple things shine. So for example, buttons, mechanisms, that they actually transport a kind of, you know, emotion and premium feeling. And the thing is here, interior is super shiny, but here, when you open the trunk, did you hear that sound? And that sound? And now, you know, these old buttons here, and then, listen to that. So, that is rather cheap, you know. It's one of the most expensive vehicles on the market, and that's kind of cheap mechanisms. Interesting. Here, 550 liters, so 50 liters more than with the Panamera. You can see here, easily fits in with a cabin trolley. So this is more than 1 meter or 40 inches in length. Actually, here is like 46 inches or almost 120 in meters. And the width here, this is actually less than 1 meter or 40 inches in this area. And the height here, this is at 23 inches or 60 centimeters. and really different now with the Panamera, because this one has this fastback styling, so the hatch opens all the way. This is so much more practical to load things in and out, and the length here is a little bit shorter at 1 meters 4 or 41 inches. So this is a little bit shorter. This is also why it loses the leader. And here also a little bit more shallow. So these 23 inches from the Mercedes S-Class are not being reached. It's more like here 19 inches or, you know, less than 50 centimeters. So a little bit limited in height and length, but easier to get things in and out actually. Porsche Khaki, more plastic, so that's less premium, but again it feels good and it's also slim. Then door closing sound, very solid, and the door closing soft close here is also available. Then everything wrapped tightly, that's the design scheme, and it's overall a little bit more simple. I like this illuminated Panamera 4S entry badge in the lower area right there. So the S-Class is more playful, whereas the Porsche Panamera is more form follows function. It's a brown interior here, sadly no animal skin alternative available either. And the steering wheel is way slimmer and sportier oriented, and the drive mode selector is directly at the steering wheel. That's what I really prefer. Seating position is way lower, and also the seats are way stiffer. They're not that soft. And also the seat ergonomics, I think here in the Panamera is way worse. And the thing is, they could have made that better. Yes, it does have a sportier focus, but I think the seat ergonomics are really a problem. When you are in a Cayenne, for example, sit more upright, that's really comfortable. I think that's one of the main problems here of the Panamera. It might not affect everyone, but I think the seats itself, they're not that comfortable. Interior overview here of the Panamera. Interesting that when we have the engine running, you really hear it, whereas in the S-Class, the engine is so silent when stationary, you don't hear it at all. Then this, you know, wrapped tightly design here, analog lock, that's cool. Definitely a sportier setup for the interior, and also a little bit easier. You have this central 12.3 inch touchscreen, and that's basically it. You do the most things here, and you still have a manual climate control. That's to me really important. Have that also with nice clicking sounds and so on. So that's more driver focused overall and just simpler to control. And also on the steering wheel, the controls are really still with normal buttons and these, you know, these jog wheels for the instruments, and here especially for the driving modes. Yay, and that's really important. So easier user interface. It's not as fancy as in the S-Class, but you know, when things develop or evolved, not necessarily are they always better. And then here in the lower area we have cup holders right there, and the opening here for the armrest is, I mean, who came up with that? It's like so unpractical. And then you have like inductive charging pad here and also smartphone connection, but hardly any space left. For the head-up display, it's not as sophisticated as in the S-Class, but you can, for example, also change different modes, Sport Chrono, Compact, or user-defined. So you can also define what's being shown there. When the infotainment system here was introduced with the Panamera, we thought like, that's really complicated, you know, and not that intuitive. It's fast enough though, so the CPU is actually quite good. This is a nice overview, and also change the sports mode here, for example, and you can see how the different parameters change. But then again, my point is, meanwhile, when this is old and in the S-Class the infotainment system is new, this here is the easier to control infotainment system because it's more straightforward. And yeah, who would have thought that? Rear seating here in the executive long wheelbase version, you have definitely more space than in the normal version. You can see also this executive entry badge right there, and that's why it's also the reason you can compare this version to the S-Class, whereas the short wheelbase would rather wear the AMG 4-door or the CLS or something. And here you can see a lot of space here also left, a little bit more we have in the S-Class. This can be, yeah, maybe then in the S-Class short wheelbase, it's a little bit less with the S-Class, but still somewhat comparable. You have enough space also when tall people are driving, and you also have more like the leaning backward position. You can also adjust it here. Here, for example, the front part, you can make it longer or shorter, or here also the angle of the back seat, so this can also be adjusted. Overall, also a stiffer, sportier feeling, single seat setup, and you also have a panoramic roof right here. You have, yeah, headroom gets quite close, but it does also work again with my size, and this is also, let's say, really built in this super split way. You can see it right here. And you have another climate unit in the middle part. You don't have this executive seat on the other side where you can push the seat all the way. Well, you can push it all the way to the front, but there's no footrest or something. So let's say the focus is not that much chauffeur-like. So I need some more work also to switch the seat right here. And then in the middle part, there's this one here, and you can fold up some tables like this. So yeah, maybe then for work, for a laptop, or for food. Yeah, theoretically, but of course you have to pay attention that you don't damage things. At least when you have brown dirt here under your shoes, then it really mixes very well with the floor mats.